Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lunch Break Science. I'm Ariel Johnson from the Leakey Foundation, and World Gorilla Day is next week, so we're kicking off the celebration early with an episode on mountain gorillas. And we want to give a special shout out to our friends over at the Dian Fossey Gorilla Fund. In honor of World Gorilla Day, we are releasing Dian Fossey's 1973 lecture with updates and a commentary by her colleague and past lunch break science guest, Dr. Kelly Stewart. So be sure to subscribe and set notifications to continue the celebration and be the first to see this exclusive content. Leakey Foundation grantee Eric Ndayishimiye joins us from Rwanda, where he just earlier today was in the field with the mountain gorillas. Eric is a PhD student at Nottingham Trent University in the United Kingdom and an affiliate researcher with the Dian Fossey Gorilla Fund. He recently received a Leakey Foundation grant for his work on gorilla stress and also is the inaugural recipient of the Sebastian Ramirez Amaya Award in Fieldwork in Primatology, which I think, we have some information about that. Let's welcome, and also I think we're sharing a link in the chat to learn more about him receiving that award. So definitely check that article out. So let's welcome Eric Ndayishimiye and congratulate him on receiving this prestigious award.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ariel, for your nice introduction and for your invitation. It's a huge honor for me to be your guest speaker today. I also thank massively everyone who made time to listen to me today.
Well, I am so excited to hear more about mountain gorillas. Before we dig deeper, though, we want to thank the Ann and Gordon Getty Foundation, Camilla and George Smith, the Joan and Arnold Travis Education Fund, and viewers like you who made today's episode possible. If you're watching us live, tell us where you're joining from in the chat. Now, Eric, it is a rare opportunity to hear firsthand from someone who's been in the field just earlier today. Tell us, what is the latest going on out there with the mountain gorillas?
Yes, you're right. I was in the field today and for my PhD project collecting data on the mountain gorillas, and I was visiting one of the group, my group that I'm following, and the interesting scenario in the group is that there is a group that it has twin silverbacks. Silverbacks are adult male gorillas. So those twins are friends. They used to be friends. When I started my data collection, that was back in June this year. So they used to hang out together, playing together and grooming each other. But over 2 weeks, I observed the kind of dynamic between the guys. They are now challenging each other. So one of the twin is, kind of showing dominance over the other. He's displaying to his brother, sometimes aggressing him. So he's showing that he is stronger than him maybe, and he want to dominate him. And dominance or hierarchy is something very, very important in the male mountain gorillas, because when you are the boss, you have plenty of opportunities that your subordinate do not have. So I'm keeping an eye on that scenario, and today was amazing to see the twins again and observe them closely.
It's got to be just such a cool thing to get to see this kind of new behavior and development and in this relationship that you watched over years. Before we started the episode, we had a quiz up asking what the current mountain gorilla population is. I don't think we actually got any responses, but no, we actually did. We had a couple of them. We had one. I guess is 2,000. So 5,000. Eric, what is the correct answer?
Yeah, the correct answer is that we have 1,063 mountain gorillas in the wild. So they are in two subpopulations. One population is the Virunga Massif, and the Virunga Massif population has 604 mountain gorillas, and another population is in the Bwindi Impenetrable National Park in Uganda, which has 459 gorillas.
And how do you actually go about doing the census?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the way we count the gorillas, or the way we do the census, is that we organize teams of people, and they do sweeps of the mountain gorilla habitat. So from one end to the other end, we do 2 sweeps. We have people going in the forest, in the gorilla habitat, following predetermined recce, so they are kind of trails or ways they follow. And whenever they account a gorilla sign, so they follow backward the sign, because when a gorilla move, they leave signs behind. For example, they leave bent leaves on their way. So when they see gorilla signs on their recce, so the team track backward until they reach a gorilla nest. So the gorilla, for your information, the gorilla build nest every night. So when the team gets to the nest, they collect fecal samples, poop. So the poop is a huge material for us. So they collect the samples, the poop materials, and then we take the poop into the lab. We extract DNA. We do individual genotyping, and we get the distinct genome. So the number of distinct genome we get from the poop is the number of the gorillas we have. So that's how we do the count of the gorillas.
Sorry, I was muted there. Before we turn the virtual floor over to you, Eric, I want to give a special call out to our live viewers, Pete, Iltrala, Mary, H, and Erica from the Dian Fossey Gorilla Fund. It's wonderful to have you all here. And Gary. And again, we're just always so thrilled to see such a lively turnout. And it is all of you watching and submitting questions that keep us inspired. You can be part of the next great discovery by supporting incredible work like Eric's through YouTube Giving, or by getting involved via the Leakey Foundation website. So, I mean, mountain gorillas have seen an incredible growth over the past 50 years, and genetic diversity and mate selection are just key for healthy populations. Now, Eric will share insights from a recent publication he co-authored and explore inbreeding avoidance among these endangered gorillas. So let's turn the virtual floor over to Eric and learn more.
Yeah, thank you, Ariel, for giving me this opportunity. So living with close kin has multiple advantages that can enhance the fitness of individuals, because when you live alongside kins, you have people or individuals to support you when you need it. But when it comes to reproducing with kin, is not good. It can have, negative consequences through inbreeding depression. For example, individuals who are born from kins may not be strong enough to withstand the environmental challenges, and thus, having a negative impact on the population of, species. Then that's why some mammal species that live in families or in groups have developed techniques to minimize inbreeding within their populations. This is what we wanted to investigate in the mountain gorillas, to see which mechanisms are they using to minimize the inbreeding issue. So far we know that mountain gorillas have an extremely low genetic diversity and a level of inbreeding exceeding even the most inbred human population. And this is because they live in two small isolated populations. One population is in the Virunga Massif. You can see the Virunga Massif on this map. Is shared between three countries, namely the Democratic Republic of Congo, Rwanda, and Uganda. And another population is in Buindi Impenetrable in Uganda. So the good news is, despite this low genetic diversity, the mountain gorillas population is increasing thanks to conservation efforts of the governments where those mountain gorillas live, and to conservation partners like NGOs like the Fossey Fund. So for those who do not know gorillas, they live in families or groups, and groups are formed of a single male or multiple male. That is, some groups have one male, others have many males, and at least one adult female and the offspring. So the group size can range between 2 individuals and 65 individuals, but normally in average we have 10 to 20 individuals in one family. So the gorillas in a family do basically everything together. So they eat together, they sleep together, and move together, as you can see on in this photo. They are together here. So in our project, we wanted to quantify mountain gorillas' flexible dispersal pattern and examine how this dispersal pattern contributes to the kin compositions of groups. We then also want to test whether mountain gorillas can recognize their kin, and subsequently avoid mating with them. And finally, we want to examine which mechanisms are they basically using to avoid mating with close kin. So to answer our question, we used population data collected on the mountain gorillas monitored by the Dian Fossey Gorilla Fund Karisoke Research Center in the Volcanoes National Park, which is the Rwandan side of the Virunga Massif. We used the population data recorded between the year 2003 and 2015. Some population data were recorded on ad libitum basis, others were collected during follows. We extracted the total number of times each pair of coincident opposite sex gorillas copulated in a year and the number of hours they were followed. We found a partial dispersal by both sexes, but this partial dispersal is slightly biased toward females because they seem to leave their families younger than males, as shown on this graph, where we have on the x-axis you have the years in age in years, and on the y-axis you have the proportion of remaining in natal group. So the blue line represents females, and the red line represent males. You can see that females disperse younger than males, and fewer than half of females have dispersed from the natal group by the time they have their first baby, which is around 10 years old. On the male side, our data has shown that around half of males are still in the natal group by the mean of becoming the dominant males. And becoming a dominant male is an opportunity for males to start siring their offspring, which is around the year 16 years old. So this partial dispersal, where either male and female disperse, but not everyone leave, so result in male groups where potential productive partners have high risk of being closely related. So if this is the case, if close kin are ending up living together in the same family, we want to know, do they eventually avoid mating with kin? The answer is yes, because to answer this question, you have grouped the pairs we had into categories, as shown on this graph. So on the x-axis, you have the kin categories. We have grouped gorillas into non-kin. Non-kin, I'm starting from the right. Non-kin are those gorillas that do not have any genetic relationship. Paternal siblings are those that have, same father. Maternal siblings, they have the same mother. Full siblings, same father and same mother. Mother-son, those are pairs of mother and son living together. Father-daughter, so father and daughter living together. On the y-axis, you have the proportions of these kin categories living together in the same family, which represent the copulation opportunities. That's the light blue bar. The middle bar represents the proportion of copulations that were observed between these kin categories. And the dark blue, which is the bar on the right, represents the proportion of offspring that were born between these kin categories. The dashed line you can see here on this graph represents the expected proportion of copulation and offsprings that were born between these kin categories if copulation were happening randomly without any selection. But as you can see on this, I want you to have a closer look on this, the right side of the graph. You can see that non-kin categories sired copulated more than expected and sired most of the offspring than expected. So the non-kin pairs represented roughly 54% of the sample size we had, but the majority of copulation happened between them. and they produced also the majority of the offspring, which is an indication that gorillas are avoiding kin because most of the population are between non-kin. Whereas on the cross-kin categories, for example, the mother-son category, you can see that you had pairs of mother-son living together, but you had zero copulation between them, and zero offspring born between mother-son. So our statistical analysis showed a significant avoidance of mating with maternal kin, but not paternal kin, suggesting that gorillas have limitations in the ability to discriminate paternal kin. So if gorillas are avoiding mating with kin, which rules are they using when deciding to avoiding to mate with cross kin? So we looked into three possible rules. We wondered whether they are using familiarity. Are they avoiding mating with gorillas in their maternal lineage, gorillas that they share the same mother? Are they avoiding mating because gorillas that share the same mother, they seem to be very so familiar than other gorillas. They spend most of the time together, playing, grooming each other. So they tend to know each other. They are familiar to each other. And the gorillas in the NATO group are also familiar because they were born and grew up in the same family. So we also went to see if they are using age rule to minimize mating with kin. So are they avoiding mating with gorillas close in age, which could be their paternal siblings? Are they avoiding gorillas distant in age, which are older than them, which could be their potential father? Here we are focusing on females because most of the copulation are stated by females in mountain gorillas. So, and finally, want to see if they are using phenotypic matching. Are they avoiding gorillas that look like them, that have some similarities? Maybe they have the same eyes, they smell alike. So, which rule are they using among these three? So, our statistics have shown evidence for familiarity. So, they are avoiding mating with gorillas. They share the same mother, and also avoiding gorillas from the same NATO group. They are also, most importantly, avoiding gorillas that are particularly males that are older than them, which could be their potential fathers. But we found no evidence for phenotypic matching, so they are not avoiding gorillas that may look like them. So this age-based mate avoidance was very, very interesting for us, and we dig deep into it. And as shown on these three graphs here, from the left we have I started on the axis. On the x-axis you have the male age, Z scored, and on the y-axis you have the predicted number of observed copulation between males and females, and the red line represent young females, and the blue line represent middle-aged females, and the green line represent old females. You can see that from this first graph on the left that generally all females together, considered together, they tend to avoid old males, which could be their father, because we found a very strong interaction between a male and female age. So then we went on to separate females. What does it mean for a female when she's in her natal group, where she was born and grew up? Compare that's the graph B, and compared to when she has changed her family, that is the graph C, where we have found that females in their natal group, they significantly avoid mating with older enough males to be their father. Whereas females that have changed the family, they seem not to care because they join a new family, and they are careless, I would say, because there is no potential father or potential brother there. So they seem to cooperate with everyone. This was a cool finding for us. So this observed inbreeding in mountain gorillas could be a problem because, as I have said, they live in too small and isolated population. And as our data has shown, the unusual dispersal pattern that we observed result in a high proportion of close kin residing in the same group. Fortunately, gorillas, as other mammals living in group, have developed techniques to avoid mating with maternal kins, but as we have shown, they have limitations in avoiding paternal kin. So they use familiarity and age-based rules to minimize inbreeding with high kin within high kin with male groups. However, close kin do still reproduce, especially paternal kin. So if this is still happening, so that's why we need further research to understand the extent to which this inbreeding depression is an issue for the mountain gorilla population's health. I thank you for your kind attention. If you have any question, you are very welcome and might to take the questions you may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Eric. That was a really fascinating look at the dynamics, and it's just so interesting to see these new questions that you're asking, and I can't wait to tackle more of them. And please, everyone out there, let us know what you thought of Eric's talk by liking this video and letting us know in the chat. We've also shared a link to the journal article Eric just discussed, so you can learn more about it. So, Eric, you had a pretty amazing first experience seeing mountain gorillas in the wild. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah. I saw first gorillas in the wild back in 2010 when I was an undergraduate student. I got a scholarship from the Dian Fossey Gorilla Fund through its capacity building program. So I visited gorillas and I went in the wild to see them. I was impressed by how they look beautiful, but my first impression was the males. So the males are huge in size, and to be honest with you, the first day I saw the males, I was scared. They look huge. I was scared. I was afraid, and threatened by their size. So, but the more I worked with them, when I joined the Fossey Fund as an employee, I fell in love with them because they are huge in size. They look handsome to me. And more important, they are responsible. They are so responsible. They protect their families. When two families meet, they fight, and they are so responsible. And more important, they are also good dads. So you can see they care for kids. They are good babysitters. So they look after kids perfectly. They are like they are good dads, I would say. So they look after kids. They show them care. And more captivatingly is that they look after orphaned youngs. When young gorillas lose their moms through death or when their mom change families, so these guys step up and do a great job because they spend their night, they share the same nest with the orphans, they groom them, they play with them, so they step up, and the young gorillas that have lost their mom don't seem to suffer because the dads, the silverback, are doing a great job. That's why I fell in love with the silverback and I love them so much.
Well, it has just been a joy hearing about your research and your love for gorillas. Right now, we are going to wrap up the first part of the episode, but don't go anywhere. After the credits, we'll hear more about Eric's new project on gorilla stress, and he'll answer questions, all of your questions, as many as you can get in, within reason, about mountain gorillas. So stay tuned. Thank you again so much, Eric, for being here with us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And thank you all for and feeding your brain with the Leakey Foundation. Until next time, stay hungry for knowledge. Lunch Break Science is brought to you by the Leakey Foundation and made possible by the generous support of the Ann and Gordon Getty Foundation, Camilla and George Smith, and the Joan and Arnold Travis Education Fund, as well as viewers like you. Show your support of Lunch Break Science by subscribing to our channel, clicking on notifications, and giving us a thumbs up, or making a donation to help us create new content. Still craving science and can't wait for the next episode? you can feast on the Leakey Foundation's content library with past episodes, lectures, our podcast origin stories, and more. Thank you all for tuning in, and see you next time. Hey everyone, this is Lunch Break Science viewer questions, where our guest scientist will answer all your questions live here now. So Leakey Foundation grantee Eric Ndayishimiye is here with us live from Rwanda, where he was in the field with the mountain gorillas just earlier today. Eric, thank you for being here and answering all of our questions.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
If you haven't gotten your questions about the mountain gorillas in the chat yet, now is the time. But first, we just heard about your research, your recently published research, but you have another study you're focused on. Could you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, I have a project I'm focusing on, and that my project comes from my love for the males. So I say they are huge, they are handsome, and they are protective fathers. But unfortunately, they seem to be more vulnerable to respiratory diseases and gastritis than other age sex classes. So that's why I want to investigate what's make them vulnerable. So what does it mean, for example, for a male perspective, being a male and in a high group density area where your group is always fighting with other mountain gorilla groups, and we know that gorilla groups fights are so stressful. So I want to see how does the physiology of those males respond to those stressors, and what does it also being a male and being challenged by your subordinate, because you have groups where subordinate males are challenging the dominant males. What does it mean? Being always being challenged by your subordinate. Maybe that has an implication on the immunocompetence of the males. So that's why I use a combination of behavioral data and biological samples such as urine and fecal samples to extract hormones, cortisol, testosterone, and uterine. Try to understand the physiological response to those social stressors and how being exposed to those stressors and the challenges may affect the immunocompetence of the male gorillas. And I'm very grateful to the Leakey to have supported my project. I'm also grateful to the Dian Fossey Gorilla Fund. I know they have support. They are supporting my project. I'm very so grateful, and I look forward to completing my PhD project and sharing with you the findings in the future of my project.
Well, we will definitely look forward to hearing more about them. We have quite a few questions from our audience. So let's take our first one, which I think is from Pete. Would breeding the lowland gorillas with the mountain gorillas be a bad idea?
Good question. Breeding lowland gorillas with mountain gorillas. Don't know. I don't know if what I would say is good or bad idea. But I think the love he has or she has is, can we, improve the diversity of the genetic diversity in our population? But we never know what can be, the consequences after we try that experience. But so far it's a problem in breeding mountain gorillas, but in breeding them with lowland gorillas, that it's something you have to be cautious about, and maybe dig into examples here and there. Is there a case where people have tried to do such an experiment, or to where the outcome maybe you can be inspired from those examples if there are some out there?
Do they do they ever breed? I don't know.
Yeah,
Like just
I
in the
don't,
wild, probably not.
yeah, I don't know. I don't have any case. I don't know any case about that.
We'll have to look more into that. You stumped us, Pete. Actually, I have a question from our website from Dian. How prominent is it for twins to be born to mountain gorillas? And is it normally the twins are the same sex, or are there cases where it's a boy and a girl?
So far, the cases I know is we have some cases. It doesn't happen often. That's why I'm following up this case and closely. Doesn't happen that often. So, but it happens as we have the cases. Being of same or different sex, I do not have an answer for that. But the case I know, the one I'm following, they are both males. So I don't know other cases. Maybe if there are, maybe they can. If we have cases in humans, why not in mountain gorillas? So we are close relatives, and what we see in human can also be seen in mountain gorillas or other primates. So presumably, maybe yes, but I can't confirm. But what I know, so far those I know are males.
So let's take our next question. And thank you, Pete and Diane, for the first two questions. Let's see our next question. Latrala asks, how many generations do you have records of?
Because we have the Dian Fossey Gorilla Fund started in 1967, so we have like 6-ish generation of long-term data on the mountain gorillas.
It's so incredibly important and vital to have this long-term data to understand research. How does that long legacy of data help you in your work?
Yeah, I think this is a huge opportunity for us researchers because we can answer so many questions. Like the presentation I just gave on inbreeding, it is not possible to answer such a question in just 1 year or 2 years. You need like long-term data to be answering the questions. And for my project as well, for my PhD project, I will be combining the data I'm collecting now doing my field work with long-term data, because with long-term data you can have answer many questions. So it's a huge opportunity that we have here at the Fossey Fund. And this is made possible through the support by the Leakey Foundation, because the Leakey support Dian. Dian started her research with the support of Leakey. So without Leakey, the Fossey Fund shouldn't have maybe not existed. So the support you had from the Leakey and the support I'm having, so it's helping a lot to gather those long-term data, and also to answer those short-term projects like my PhD project.
It's really like both organizations are so wonderful. I know we've shared information for the Dian Fossey Gorilla Fund in the chat. As I had mentioned earlier, we are re-releasing Dian Fossey's 1973 lecture on mountain gorillas next week in honor of World Gorilla Day. So it's just fun to get to work together and have these amazing talks. So what is our next question? Okay, so Mary asks, what is the ratio of males to females in the population?
Yeah, good question. I would say maybe half. So it seems like the half. I mean, I would say half, 50-50. So nearly half.
We have another question. This is an instinctive behavior rather than them consciously thinking you might be my father in regards to the inbreeding avoidance?
Yeah, this is what our data have said. So we have looked into data, and then we can, from having those long-term data, we can tell what we can see. This is what our data say. So we saw that mother son do not copulate, for example. So this is our observation, because maybe that close proximity, maternal siblings, because they are always next to the mom, they know each other from grooming each other, playing with each other. So our data says that that close relatives minimize copulating. So it's maybe an instinct, but this is what our data have shown, and maybe our data are confirming that instinct.
So our next question, let's see here. We have a good one coming up. Do gorillas regard bigger human males as a threat to the troop, or is there no risk for the observers? Because it is. I mean, like I would think, and we've heard a lot about habituating chimpanzees on lunch break before, but we've not really heard too much about habituating, mountain gorillas, or a question like this about this, Anyway, yeah. I'll let you go ahead.
I'm not sure I get the question where. Maybe can you rephrase it?
Yeah, I think it was if the observer is like a larger size male, like would the gorillas perceive them as a threat because of size? I mean, I would think like similarly to like the male gorillas being so large in comparison, like would the size of the researcher impact their perception of threat? And like beyond that, just how like how do you work with animals that are just so much larger than you too? Anyway,
Yeah,
I'll let you go from there. I think that summarized the question.
yeah. I think that's a good question, and what I would say is that gorillas are used to our presence. They tolerate us. When we're there, they seem fine with our presence. They are habituated. They are nice with us. They can allow us collect data. Maybe being afraid by huge sized male researchers. This would be, maybe a topic of research to see, that the size of the researcher matter. Being a male or a female, being, big male or small sized male, I'm small sized male, maybe. So maybe it would be a next topic. Someone in the audience or someone can look into that, the size of, the researcher, if it matters, for the gorillas. I don't know, but they seem generally to be familiar with my observation. They seem to be familiar with us. They are habituated, so they carry on their daily activities, feeding, moving, regardless of our presence in the field with them.
Let's see here. Our next question. Let's see here. What are the main health issues of inbreeding?
Yeah, good question. That's if you followed well my presentation, I say that the conclusion we have came with. So we need to dig and understand this. So we don't know exactly. To my knowledge, I don't know any research that has looked into this. Maybe I'm not aware of it, but we need to understand those if there are health, because there are health issues in humans or other in humans, for example. So is this the case with the mountain gorillas? We don't know yet. Maybe we need to dig deep and understand. We have case of infant dying, and we're asking ourselves, oh, why is this infant dying? Maybe it's something to do with inbreeding, but we cannot confirm without having a detailed systematic research. So we need those research to be carried out to understand the impact of inbreeding that is known in mountain gorillas. How does it affect the population of the mountain gorillas? So we need those research.
We have a question from Emily on our website. She asks, what does a typical day out in the field studying the mountain gorillas look like?
Wow, so it's an amazing question. And yeah, a typical day looks, you wake up in the morning, 6, jump in a car. So we like to have, facilitation at the Fossey Fund, and go in the forest, to hike. You hike, because they live in the mountains. So it's hiking for 1 or 2 hours, depending on how the day you are. So if you're lucky, gorillas are close. If you are not lucky on the day, so they are far away and you have to follow them. But what amazes me is that whenever I get to the gorillas, so it's amazing feeling. You see the gorillas, you forget all the tiredness you have experienced. So you with the gorillas, we spend them an hour to 4 hours observing them. It's a huge opportunity to some of the interaction between gorillas, and it depends on the project if one is doing, but enjoy the gorillas, and then 4 hours later, this is the rule from the government, and then you pack your stuff and then come back. A bit tired, but when you have good data, it's a relief. And so the day ends around 2, and the hike can take 1 hour back home, and then so time to relax and look into the data. So I think that's how the day looks like generally.
We have it's I get it sounds like such a fascinating and I can't imagine being taking those hikes and getting to see them. So we have another question from our website from Bob. They asked, maybe because they do not move much, does it limit the mountain gorilla's diet compared to other types of gorillas because they live in higher altitude?
Can you rephrase the question again?
I guess because mountain gorillas have a smaller range than other types of gorillas and are at a higher altitude, does this limit what their diet is in comparison to other gorillas?
That's a good question. So far, gorillas live in a bowl. We say a bowl of food, so they have zero issue with food availability. Particularly the mountain gorillas in the Virunga Massif where I walk. So there is plenty of food in their habitat. So they have no issue with food availability because they use all the altitudes from the bottom of the volcanoes to the top, or they use all those elevations, and at each level of the volcanoes elevation there is food for gorillas. So they are fine. They live in a bowl of food, I would say.
We have another question from our website from Anonymous. Do any other gorillas help orphaned infants in the group, or is it only the silverbacks?
Yeah, good question. The silverbacks plays a magnificent, I mean, most of the job, because they spend the night. They say that they share the nest, they groom them, but everyone does. Everyone else does in the gorilla group. So everyone does, but the silverback role is exceptional. Building a nest and sharing the nest with the kids, grooming them, so they do most of the job, but everyone else in the group helps.
Well, we have another question. Is there strategic cooperation between the leading silverback and the subordinate males?
Yeah. I think the relationship between males is more tolerating each other rather than friendship. So they tolerate each other, and most importantly, even though they are not friends, but when a threat comes, they cooperate. When you see that, when there is an interaction or entire group encounters, so when two groups meet, so you see that the boys are cooperating a lot to fight, to fend off the opponent. So they cooperate when it comes to protecting their family. But generally in the family, the relation is more tolerating one another than being friends, because the hierarchy matters there. So when you are the boss, you monopolize opportunities. But when it comes to protecting the family, they cooperate a lot.
Now, you mentioned that I mean, obviously we know that mountain gorillas are very endangered. What is being done as far as conservation efforts to protect their future?
Yeah, what is being done is a lot. It's a lot, like doing research. The Fossey Fund does research to understand, what are the threats to them, what are the possible solution we can put there. So I think they are endangered, and we doing research, is a huge contribution to understand, how the population is doing. Is it healthy? Is it the numbers are increasing, are decreasing? So that the measures can be taken accordingly. And there are so many conservation organizations that operate in the area that always, on regular basis, do intervention meetings, or have people on the field to observe the health of the gorillas, and the government as well. So it's a huge collaborative effort to make sure we have the gorillas now, and our kids will have them as well in the future.
So, my last question for you is, do you have any advice for those out there who are considering pursuing a career either in anthropology or in primate behavior? Is there anything that you would have liked to hear too when you were just starting out?
Yeah, I would say it's a great job. I mean, you enjoy your job, and it's amazing to see our close relatives. I particularly love the closeness we have with the gorillas. So because we are close, we can learn a lot from them. So I would encourage young people, why not pursuing a career in primatology where you see animals which you share a lot genetically, and you can enjoy watching them. And so it's a joy. It's a joy. I always say that the part most I love with gorilla is my job. The thing I love most with my job is that I have a free permit to see gorillas every day. Tourists have to pay a huge money to see the gorillas, but me, I'm privileged to be with them like 4 hours a day, and I can go any day I want. It's unique, to be able to be with those amazing animals every day, studying them, and it's amazing job. So please, join primatology courses, or it's a huge job and amazing one.
Maybe I'll change my career now. That just sounds like magic.
Yeah.
So, Eric, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been just, I mentioned it earlier, but like the joy you bring to your work is just, it's just such a wonderful thing to see. And we definitely all have felt it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me today. It's always such a pleasure to get to discuss the work, and I truly believe archaeology is most powerful when we can, share it. Yeah, this is our shared story today, and I want everyone, to know about it.
Well, thank you so much, and you will have to come back to tell us when you get your results of your research. Again, just thank you so much, and thank you all out there for your amazing questions and for joining us today. And until next time, stay hungry for knowledge.
Yeah,
Thank
bye
you.
bye. Please take
Bye,
care. Hope you have a great end of your week. Bye bye.
and and happy World Gorilla Day early.
Yeah, bye bye.
Bye.